Hi there and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dagny. I'm a New York City-based Argentine tango dancer, teacher, and performer, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about all of the tips and tricks that I have that I use to make myself more comfortable when dancing with an injury. My background is in ballet and I've been dancing tango for years now. I did actually have a major ankle surgery around 3 years ago that resulted in me not being able to dance for a while, and so I've built back my strength, and I hope that these tips that have helped me will help you become a little bit more comfortable when you're dancing through an injury. Unfortunately, injury tends to be a part of a dancer's life, and with tango, most of the injuries that I've observed in myself and in others are in the lower half of the body, so the ankle, the knees, and the hips, as well as some wrist injuries that may prevent being in the embrace properly. My first tip is knowing when to stop. I know, it's really hard to stop dancing, and especially with all of the endorphins that are making us feel better as we're actually dancing, it may be easy to ignore when our body's telling us to stop. But listening to the cues is incredibly important. If we continue to push our body past the point it's telling us to stop, we could continue to further injure that specific site. While rebuilding strength in the area is a good thing, and I don't discourage ever completely stopping unless there's a need to do that, knowing when to stop dancing for a particular session is extremely important. Give it a break for today and you'll be back to dancing in no time. My next tip is to dance on a smooth surface. In the summertime, we may enjoy some really beautiful outdoor events that are on decks or on concrete in parks. However, dancing on a surface that is not smooth can exacerbate the pain that you might be feeling in your knee and your ankle. These uneven and rough surfaces cause friction, and so therefore you're putting more stress on the joints. Seeking dance surfaces such as smooth wood is ideal, but even some dance surfaces like marley, which is better for ballet, jazz, contemporary, may cause some problems. Some studios have that kind of flooring, but it's more ideal if you need to be gripping the floor a little. Along with having a smooth dance surface, having smooth dance shoes helps so much as well. I use proper Argentine tango shoes, and using a shoe that's appropriate for your dance style is incredibly important to ensure the most comfort. Using our proper tango shoes, which tend to be leather-based or suede-based, helps us to pivot and glide smoothly without encountering much resistance. Trying to dance with rubber-soled shoes is going to cause some problems. This friction will cause more tension on the joints and can exacerbate the pain. Alignment is also incredibly important to make sure that you are not stressing any part of your body improperly. Proper alignment is so important for a dancer. Everyone has a different body shape, and although we may follow general trends for alignment, make sure that you're checking for your body shape specifically. Repeated motions stressing parts of our body that are not in proper alignment can lead to injury. In fact, this is the most common way that we get hurt. This may be tricky to do alone, so if you feel like you need some guidance, definitely check with the local teacher. This tip may be a little trickier to implement, but communicating with your partner, especially if it's a close friend that you feel comfortable asking to modify some motion, may be helpful. Especially if it's something as simple as a wrist issue and they can't have as much pressure as usual, be sure to communicate your needs. I generally try not to dance if I'm feeling like I really have to ask somebody else to modify their lead, or I try to avoid dancers that I know compromise my motion in certain positions. However, if you can, there's always the possibility to say, hey, my right ankle is hurting. Can we try to avoid pivots on that side? Whatever it may be. This is going to be a little trickier because we all already have our patterns for dancing, and it's quite difficult to add that extra layer of information on top of the already complicated lead. However, it is good for them to know just in case something happens during the dance. I've had a few instances where I sort of buckled because my joint didn't line up properly, and I didn't want them to be surprised when that happened. So they'll generally be able to tone down the motion, and we could always make it simpler. However, if you are feeling incredibly uncomfortable when you dance, do give it a rest for the time being. Along with trying to modify the motion that the leader is doing, the leader or the follower can also try to modify pivots. Pivots are a huge part of tango, and it's almost impossible to avoid them. However, I have definitely taken several tiny steps instead of completing a pivot that may have hurt me. I know what the foot I'm supposed to be landing on is, and I know the direction I'm supposed to be going into. And so I put a few subtle tiny little steps instead of completing the pivot. That way I'm not putting undue stress onto my ankle. Another tip that I have is to add support. If your ankle, your knee, your wrist, if anything needs extra support, there are many bands that you can get that are incredibly supportive, and other people have reported back that it was super helpful to have that support. So that's something that you could always, conceal under your pants or under your skirt to make sure that you have the added support if you need it. Personally, I try not to rely too heavy on a support because I want to try to properly build up with physical therapy exercises the strength that I may have been lacking in that area, but there are so many great options out there, so don't be afraid to use the support if you need one. And finally, friends of mine have said that painkillers really help getting through some dance sessions, some anti-inflammatories. However, I really try to avoid them myself. Personally, I like to know where the pain is emanating from. That lets me know that I'm doing something wrong, because pain is the way that our body communicates with us to let us know that something's going wrong. And I try to use the indication that pain is telling me to stop or modify my motion. So I don't like to mask it with a painkiller because then I don't know where the pain is coming from. But if it makes you feel more comfortable, looking into a generic painkiller might help alleviate some of the pain you're feeling while dancing. And that's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe, because today I was going over what we're doing in the dance studio to make our dancing a little bit easier with an injury. However, I will be coming out with a future video about some tips and tricks that I have throughout my daytime that I do in order to alleviate my dance injury. I hope to see you next time. Take care. Bye.